Okay, guys. So we have a good book today. I haven't read this book in a long time. I'm actually liking all of these read-alouds because I'm getting to read some books that I don't normally get to read in the school year. So this has been really exciting. Okay? So this book is called That Rabbit Belongs to Emily Brown. And I chose this book mainly because of the imagination that the author shows. It's just a fun book. And maybe it'll give you some ideas for your Write Stuff writing, but it's just kind of a fun book. Pay attention to what the author is doing. I kind of set it up a little closer so that hopefully you can see some of the illustrations, okay? And we'll just get into it, okay? So here's this book. I need to write my name in this page, okay? That Rabbit Belongs to Emily Brown. Once upon a time, there was a little girl called Emily Brown and an old gray rabbit called Stanley. One day, Emily Brown and Stanley were launching themselves into outer space to look for alien life forms when there was a rat-a-tat-tat at the kitchen door. Can you see the imagination already? It was the chief footman to the queen, he said. The queen has very kindly noticed your rabbit. She would like to have that bunny-wunny. In return, she offers this brand new golden teddy bear. Emily Brown looked at the queen's teddy bear. It was stiff and new and gold and horrible. It had staring eyes and no smile at all. "No, thank you," said Emily Brown. "This rabbit is not for sale, and his name isn't Bunny-Wunny. It's Stanley." And Emily Brown politely shut the door. An hour or so later, Emily Brown and Stanley were riding through the Sahara Desert on their motorbike when there was a rat-a-tat-tat at the garden door. It was the army. The captain saluted and said, "Her Most Royal Highness Queen Gloriana III greets Miss Emily Brown, and she would still like to have that bunny-wunny. In return, she offers her the brand new golden teddy bear and 10 talking dolls that say, 'Mama, Mama.'" You guys noticing what's kind of starting to happen? Emily Brown said, "I don't want 10 talking dolls. I want my rabbit, and his name isn't Bunny-Wunny, it's Stanley." And Emily Brown sent that army away, less politely this time. A few days later, Emily Brown and Stanley were deep-sea diving off the Great Barrier Reef when there was a rat-a-tat-tat at the garden door. Are you guys noticing a pattern that this author is starting to follow? It was the Navy. The Admiral saluted and said, "Her Most Glorious Royalness Queen Gloriana III greets Miss Emily Brown, and she would like you to hand over that rabbit at your earliest convenience. She points out that she is the poshest person on the planet, and Bunny-Wunny will be much better off with her. In return, she offers you the brand new golden teddy bear, 10 talking dolls that say, 'Mama, Mama,' and 50 rocking horses that rock forever." "I don't care who she is," said Emily Brown. "This rabbit belongs to me, and his name isn't Bunny-Wunny, it's Stanley." And she sent that Navy away. Would you have taken the trade? Ooh, where are they now? A few weeks later, Emily Brown and Stanley were climbing through the Amazon rainforest when there was a rat-a-tat-tat at the garden door. It was the Air Force. The wing commander saluted and said, "Her Excellence, the Most Mighty Queen Gloriana III, greets Miss Emily Brown and says she must have that bunny-wunny right now or she will not answer for the consequences. In return, we will give her a brand new golden teddy bear, 10 talking dolls that say, 'Mama, Mama,' and 50 rocking horses that rock forever, and all the toys she could ever desire." Every time they keep upping it. Now, Emily Brown was fed up. She sent that Air Force away, and she pinned a big notice on the garden gate that read, "This rabbit is not for sale, and his name is not Bunny-Wunny, it's Stanley." Emily Brown. A few months later, Emily Brown and Stanley were lying fast asleep in bed, dreaming of all the adventures they would have the next day, when there was absolutely no noise at all at the door or the gate or the window. What do you notice? Shh. They're sneaking in. Silently, in crept the Queen's Special Commandos, and they stole the rabbit that belonged to Emily Brown. When Emily Brown woke up the next morning, for the first time in her life, there was no Stanley. How would you feel at this point? Stop and think about it. Emily Brown was so cross. She knew just what had happened. She marched straight up to the palace on the hill. She knocked on that naughty Queen's front door. Rat-a-tat-tat. Emily Brown ran into the palace, and there was that naughty Queen crying like anything. The first thing she said was, "Thank goodness you've come, Emily Brown. There's something wrong with Bunny-Wunny." Uh-oh. What could be wrong? There was indeed something wrong with Stanley. The silly naughty Queen had put him in the royal washing machine all night, and he'd come out an odd pink color. Whoa. The royal dressmakers had stuffed him full of stuffing, so he wasn't flippity-floppy anymore. And worst of all, they had sewn up his mouth where Emily Brown had picked it away, and Stanley wasn't smiling anymore. Stanley was miserable. "Oh, Emily Brown, is there anything you can do?" asked the Queen. "There certainly is," said Emily Brown. "I shall take Stanley home." The Queen started crying harder than ever. "I have all the toys in the world, but none as nice as Stanley." Emily Brown felt sorry for that silly Queen. So she went to the royal toy cupboard, and she took down that brand new golden teddy bear, and she placed it on the Queen's lap. Emily Brown whispered so that no one else could hear, "You take that brand new teddy bear and you play with him all day. Sleep with him at night, hold him very tight, and be sure to have lots of adventures. And then, maybe one day, you will wake up with a real toy of your own." And Emily Brown and Stanley went home, leaving the palace. That was the last Emily Brown and Stanley heard from that silly, naughty Queen for quite some time. But one day, a couple of months later, as Emily Brown and Stanley were exploring the outermost regions of the Milky Way, there came a rat-a-tat-tat at the kitchen door. It was the mailman with a letter for Emily Brown, and it just said, "Thank you." Look at that picture real close. So I bet you have some thoughts. A couple of questions I have for you. Okay? What was so special about what Emily said to the Queen? And do you have a stuffed toy that you've done that with? Loved him so much and hold him tight and have lots of adventures with? And then my next question is, who do you think the Queen is? Do you think she's really a queen? Or do you think that's all part of Emily Brown's imagination? And maybe she's someone else? Let me know your thoughts when you think of them. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed that book. Again, it's called That Rabbit Belongs to Emily Brown. Let your imagination soar. Don't ever let it stop. And have a good rest of your day, guys.